So our first presenter is Professor Riitta Katila, and her presentation topic is Antitrust in Enterprise Software. Will increases in competition boost innovation? Professor Katila is a professor of management science and engineering and the W.M. Keck Foundation faculty scholar at Stanford. And she's also the research director of the Stanford Technology Ventures program. Her research is in the intersection of technology strategy and organizational learning, using machine learning, statistical analysis, and mixed methods. She's an expert on innovation, competition, entrepreneurship in large firms, and her current research centers on responsible and inclusive innovation initiatives. So, Professor Katila, please take it away.
Thank you, Christy, for the kind introduction. Hello, everybody. This will be a super quick introduction to a project that we've been working on the past couple of years together with Sruthi Thatchenkery at UCL London. We have some new measures and a couple of new data points. So even if you saw the previous version, I think there is something new for you. We are looking at antitrust in enterprise software and thinking about will competition increases result in innovation increases. And we are bringing back your favorite antitrust moment here, which is the Microsoft case from the 2000s. And again, thanks to Christy and Eric for the wonderful day and inviting all of us. So we'll be very brief here. So what are we trying to do here in this project? We're asking the popular question whether digital platforms are becoming too dominant and blocking competition in their ecosystem. So if you look at the graph, we are in a platform ecosystem with platform that is also a dual platform complementer. So here examples would be if it's an app ecosystem, you have both the platform firm also providing complementers and that creating a problem for the complementer, competitiveness and innovation. So what's the theory that we are pushing forward in this piece? It goes back to, if you've seen Mike Porter's 2001 strategy piece on antitrust, competition, and innovation. So we are both strategy scholars. So we are taking a lens of a firm who is in this ecosystem or somebody who is trying to enter when they see that there is more competition. So we're asking whether antitrust, whether competition increases are good if you're a firm thinking about entering an ecosystem, if you're an existing complementer, now that there is more free competition, is it good for you and in what ways? And if you're a platform firm, what is your strategy? What should or could it be, given that you probably entered one of the complementary markets in the first place to increase innovation in the ecosystem? So what could go wrong there? So we take fundamentally a strategy perspective. And so just problem on the left, on the right, the solution that antitrust aims to provide, which is to add competition and bring back innovation. And think about EU, US, inquiries into these big platforms. And as I mentioned, we are really asking, is antitrust delivering from a strategy perspective? So my 2 last minutes, I don't know how many seconds I have left. What we are asking is how do changes in platform competition relate to these big changes in innovation and profits? There are 2 sides of the coin. Dominant platforms provide order. They provide complementary assets to markets. So the multiple projects out there about Salesforce or SAP, for example, providing a good ecosystem by providing some assets to complementers. On the other side of the coin, platform dominance may decrease innovation incentives, so complementers are not able to innovate. Okay. Regulatory shock that we are focusing on is the Microsoft antitrust case. And of course, we looked what happened on the enterprise side of the things. We are focusing on enterprise infrastructure. So we focused on what were the specific antitrust violations and then remedies in this case. And we look at complementary firms and how they innovate and also how they profit after this shock. And very quickly, these are base results. You may have seen this before, and what I really want to focus on is underlying mechanisms and what other tests we've done. But the basic result is this is innovation measured by patents. The red is the traded group. So the group that in 2001, smack middle in the graph, was hit by the antitrust hit in a sense that competition increased. You see that the treated group's innovation increased. So sounds good, right? And the control group sort of flatlined, was about the same as before. So that's good news for innovation after antitrust. Now, the profit story, which we all also wanted to look at strategy scholars, is more complex. Basically, firms do not seem to profit from their innovation efforts. So what is going on? So where we are with the paper right now, big finding, antitrust seems to spur innovation. Competition increases go hand in hand with innovation increases. We also looked at entry. So it is possible that maybe us looking at the innovation of the existing firms, that's not the point. Maybe the point was that to enable entry of new firms. There's actually, in this particular industry, very little or no entry, both public firm and private firm sides. So entry firm turnover does not seem to explain innovation. So back to these incumbents. So who innovates? So we looked at, we're building on Shapiro's theory on firms being incentivized to innovate when they see a prospect for profitable sales. According to that theory, our data confirms that the non-leading complementers, the small players who really show an opportunity after antitrust to increase their market share, those are the innovators. So the red line, really who in that 3D group innovates is the small firms that had very little market share in the 3D markets before antitrust. Now, what is the story about profits? So here it gets more interesting. So again, we're splitting these firms, these 3D firms, to non-leading and leading. So leading firms are the top 4 or 5. This is oligopoly kind of industry. Top 3, 4 or 5 players in the markets. Those firms did not increase their innovation. On the other hand, they actually got more efficient. So we're using asset efficiency versus learner index to break up profits. So those firms, leading firms, actually benefited from antitrust by getting more efficient in a sense. The non-leading ones, the poor firms who started innovating like crazy after antitrust, they failed to create profit, they failed to create value, and they did not get more efficient. So what was going on? And this is actually, I should have shown you the profit results, and this is my final point. What is going on? So we are right now working on mechanism tests and trying to understand what is going on. So one explanation could be that maybe we split the 3D group wrong. So maybe it was the tech leaders versus laggards that we should have been looking. And you'd argue an explanation that maybe the technically leaders were the ones who were incentivized to innovate, but they couldn't quite cross the market frontier. So that therefore the profit sank. That is not an explanation in our data. So whether you were a technical leader or laggard, you actually innovated about the same rate. So what we are circling on is another explanation, which relates to taking these technologies innovations to the market, complementary assets. And what we are currently working on is data and more evidence that when the platform, in this case Microsoft, was no longer providing complementary assets for these innovators, for these complementary firms to take their innovations to market, these non-leading firms that had the patents, had the innovations, they didn't have the complementary assets, and therefore they didn't perform well or profit. And I see Christy giving me a sign that it's time to stop. So here is where we are with the paper. Excited to hear any feedback later when it's a convenient time. Again, thanks for listening, and send me your related work.